Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Panzer Corps 2 Front Lines, new sort of mode for Panzer Corps. And this is the Battle of the Bulge. We're playing the second scenario in this. So we've pushed them back. We've got these guys to here. I think we're ready to see what comes next. The Stug ran away. Okay, but we got some stuff to see about dealing with here. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. Undo that. I was trying to click over here. Okay, we're going to fall back to the anti-tank guns. Protection there. I think we will fall back to there. I think we're dug in well enough there. The anti-tank guns encircled. They're going to get unencircled, but we're going to encircle them again. I hope. They're encircled again. Yay. All right. They're bringing up flat guns to shoot at me now? Might as well get these guys up fully to strength. Well, let's take a look out where. So let's look out that. Okay, nothing really. Guess there's stuff maybe coming through here. I did a lot of damage. Hoping to be able to run away after that. Yes. Jeeps with 50 cals. Wonderful things. Hey, ZZ, how you doing? All right. Well, Bye-bye, Jerry. Right, we're good. Now you can come back to there. Oh, boy, okay, wow. Okay, we got wasp over there. These Duga on right. I'm going to fly over here and take a look again. Let's look here, just see what may be coming. I'm gonna get these guys off this hilly terrain. Maybe not the best for them. Put these guys up here. The artillery here. There we go. Well, so far our Bulge campaign is doing pretty well. Oh, yes, good. Good. I think it's good to have a busy week, and it's good to rest. Yes. Hope it's the good kind of busy, but yeah. Uh-oh. Oh boy. That Panther A really had it bad. It came in, got hit by Wolverines as it went after the infantry up on the hill. Wow, that was, shall we say, a rough time of it. There we go. Turn length might be a day. A turn length is, I believe it's supposed to be a day. Weather forecast, cloudy. But maybe it's shorter. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's shorter, just raining on and off. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not, obviously it's not a day. I don't know. I'm not sure because like I've complained before, they used to change the scale often for um, Panzer Corps. I didn't like that. And now this is sort of a steady scale. So I'm not sure what they're thinking. I'm just not sure. We don't want to leave this guy out here all on his own. So we'll withdraw back here a ways. So the Germans will take that town. That's fine. Yeah, so that could be the idea of morning and afternoon or something. I don't know. Really messed up my artillery there. Well, they did not take this town. They went after these guys up there. They got hit with artillery. Huh. Boarding anti-tank guns. Oh, here. Well, there we go. Oh, are remarkably well. We are doing. Got these jeeps up in a crazy mad drive up, machine gun them down, and drive out of there. Oh, what's Arno saying? I Or I think he means wonder. I wonder how the battle would go if the U.S. would already have the. Oh yeah, the Pershing. Yeah, that would be a big effect on the game or on about everything. In real life. Okay, some panthers showed up here. Hmm. That area under watch. Yeah, so far, and we're playing on this. If those who have not watched the full series so far, on the general level of difficulty. Okay, so because we've held the one or more, we've held both of them, secondary objectives. We got our optional um, condition here. It was for 14. So William Hunt, aggressive counterattack, fast entrenchment, first aid. Restores 1 point of strength every turn the unit did not attack. Applies to infantry. Okay, so we should put him in charge of infantry. Okay, well, you're going to get reinforcements. Yeah, reinforcements. There we go. Mm, sort of kind of think the Panther may be more of the threat. So swap locations. There we go. Well, they didn't last that long. Patton said let them drive to Paris, then collect the prisoners when they run out of gas. Yeah, okay, that does make sense. Of course, the Germans could do a lot of damage before they run out, or after they run out of gas, in Paris. But well, Okay, it's raining. It's the last turn. We are holding out. Looks like we're going to hold out up here just fine. So, well, I didn't need to put all of the artillery back here. Probably need somebody just watch that. I figured we would be hit with a harder attack. Wonder why we didn't get an overrun on that. I just curious, but don't understand why not. Part of the German strategy was to capture depots because they knew otherwise they wouldn't get very far. Yes, absolutely. But still, ZZ is right, or Patton's right, or whatever, in that, yes, you will capture gas for today, but what about tomorrow? And I don't mean that literally, but figuratively. So, however big the gas supply dumps were, and they were probably pretty big, but, and if you remember, what is it, Hessler, the the German commander in the movie The Battle of the Bulge, which I'm thinking about someday making that a movie night movie. Next movie night movie, if you're curious, is going to be another 48 hours, and then we're thinking maybe about the Magnificent Seven. So, hey, if you ever want to check out our Discord server, there's a link on YouTube and whatnot. We do a Friday night European time movie currently, and talk about it and hang out. So, as I posed here earlier on, and Arno sort of gave a decent answer, but why did the Germans attack? I mean, with the Battle of the Bulge. And Arno's answer, just if those was, well, to cut the allies off that were in the north and take the the port of Antwerp and capture the supplies. Yeah, yeah, that's true enough as far as it goes. But to a point, I'm wondering what is the objective, or I mean that is sort of the objective. What is the goal of the whole operation? Um, I think we will just continue to defend here. Um, is it just that Hitler ordered it? And I'm not even sure who planned the whole idea of the right offhand of an Ardennes offensive, as opposed to doing an offensive somewhere else. Yeah, it's just, and I know we're looking at this from hindsight, and like I say, I will very much acknowledge the very real possibility that the Germans were just fighting. They got in this fighting mode, and I'm talking whether it's the generals, at the Führer bunker or whatever, or the Wolf's Lair or wherever the time that would have been for this attack. down to the, the soldiers in the field and everywhere in between, that it's just habit by this point, and you're fighting the enemies, whoever the enemies, as opposed to like realizing that the war is done. And I get Wunderwaffe, wonder weapons are going to turn this around. And I've talked about this, how Hitler's regime, and there's still assassination attempts, but Hitler's regime is firmly in power once he has that victory, by taking Paris in 1940. And why sometime in this, yes, is Christmas time, getting into New Year's of 1944, but it's super late 44. Before that, okay, June 44, we have the D-Day landing. So I understand why you're fighting there, because the promised wonder weapons. Some of the guys, at the top really sort of had an idea of what was coming. And they should have known it wasn't going to be enough. The guys sort of at the middle, and those are just like division generals. I'm counting guys at the middle, and corps generals, guys that are, and their staffs and all these people. They're seeing some wonder weapons. Is the Panther a wonder weapon? Hell, Panther is, comparing a Panzer III of 1940 and all the other tanks of 1940. I know you're starting to get very early in production, not seeing it, but the T-34. But let's, push the T-34 and the KVs sort of aside. If you're looking at the BT-7 and earlier BT Soviet tank series, and you're looking at the, the T-26 light tanks and the T-35, the big sort of jumbo land battleship kind of tanks of the Soviet Union, Panthers would just clean those things up. I mean, hardly get scratching the paint on them. Going after the West, the Panthers would clean just, in 1940s tanks. America really hardly has anything. They're looking at Spain and trying to figure out what's going on, and just starting a tank building and design program. If you would put in 1941, early in 1941, you were to put a bunch of Panthers in North Africa, with Rommel first showing up, kind of deal, at that date. And he had a bunch, whatever that means. I don't think the British would have stopped them. We can talk all we want about submarines and air power sinking ships that carrying fuel, but still fuel was getting through there. We can talk all about air power striking a certain amount of tanks and taking them out. Yeah. But the Allies were, if nothing else had changed, if Patton had gotten, before, we're talking, in 1941, so that's prior to the American, because El Alamein is, 42 with, after the Americans show up. But if we're talking, late 41, December 41 or whatever, I don't think, getting in a few German divisions in there, if you had Panthers, I don't think the British are going to be able to stop you. Yeah, you need enough. But their anti-tank guns are going to be, oh yeah, I know on the sides there's weak points, blah, 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 blah. Not saying they wouldn't have none knocked out, whether from airstrikes or artillery or anti-tank rifles even. Yeah, it wouldn't have been invulnerable, but they would have overrolled it. So, the Panther's almost a Wunderwaffe. I definitely see, early one to me, and thanks to Eric around. Hey, Admiralty. I still think the jerry can is a Wunderwaffe, wonder weapon. To the point that the Americans copy it entirely. That it allows a system that the Germans developed, that the Americans either copy or replicate on their own. They definitely copy the can. Um, and they're still almost, other than changing materials, I don't know that anybody's created a better fuel and or water, can of, small, water tank, for troops and trucks, whether you're putting in, into the radiators of your trucks. I don't know that anybody's created a better. I know there's a few high-tech modern, but I really don't know that anybody's created a better thing than the jerry can. I mean, again, changing materials, maybe to plastic or something, but it's such that is, a still something that is not readily seen as being surpassed to this day. And so you got that, and that's obviously, something that happens in 39, but you got, and this is going to get confidence whether it's in the, the middle, to me, the middle management um, for the Army is things like generals and colonels, for the scale that we're talking about. The middle management, and then the guys down below, the company commanders and the guys, that carrying the rifle, baking the bread, because I collect photos, just digital ones. Um, no, I've got some actual World War II, and I got a bunch of actual World War I photos. Big collection of those, but so I do collect other things. But is like I just recently got 4 or 6 photos of just German bakery, that what sort of field kitchen bakery that being towed by horses around. That's what a lot of Germans were still at the end of the war. It's a horse-drawn army very much. So we can see how primitive, how World War I like it still is in so many ways. But you're all getting Wunderwaffe like the Sturmgewehr, the MP44, various names that it's known under. That's sort of a Wunderwaffe. The bazooka, the Panzerskreck, the German version of it, and the Panzerfaust. Those are Wunderwaffe. So the soldiers are getting Wunderwaffe. They're hearing and seeing, as once they're actually being used, propaganda films with V1 and V2s. I'm probably most Germans don't actually see one of those things. I mean, they're just moved to locations and shot at at the British. And again, they're probably not seeing many of the Messerschmitt jet fighters, but they're there, and they're hearing about them. So I get that buying time to get these into production in like June or July 1944, because remember, the day before D-Day, June 5th, the Allies take Rome. So it's already seen that the Germans cannot eject the Allies from Italy. There's actually some sort of propaganda leaflet that was dropped over the Allies in Italy that showed the war lasting, I don't know, until like 1948 with, retire, 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 behind lines up the Italian peninsula. And it was going to take years to dig Germany out. Well, okay, but we've already seen that Germany cannot push the Allies out, at least with their conditions, and they're not able to, hold back the Soviets effectively, and they're losing, they can't eventually push them out of D-Day. Yeah, I get at that point, that, oh, hey, if we just hold them here for another 6 months, another year, we'll have whatever new weapons that the Fuhrer is promising, and the tide will turn. Yeah, but by December 44, going into 45, 6 months later, approximately. 6 months of war is a long time fighting in a war. Why are they still pushing? Oh wow. Well, thank you, Admiral T. Thank you for the super chat. To the Master of Military History, keep shining light into the darkness and dispelling ignorance. Thank you so much. Thank you. Honored, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, and so, you can also look at film footage at the end of the really at the end of the war, in which the Germans are actively shooting artillery at and fighting the Soviets. While walking across the bridge, other Germans are handing rifles over to the Americans. So they're still fighting. So I get fighting the Soviets at that point, because it's not just fighting for their lives or um, fighting because it's habit. That we might say or Ardennes Offensive is just habit. They recognize the war is done, so they are, and I recently found a photo, of them crossing a bridge, and the Germans are sort of having trouble climbing over mountains of, rifles and submachine guns with the magazines still in them. So I don't know if the magazines are loaded, just on the ground, and cartridge, because they're make them leave their cartridge. You can keep your belt, but take your, because I'm seeing the just the leather cartridge boxes on the ground from the belt boxes. Just don't keep those. You can keep your belt if you want to hold your pants up or whatever. Fine. And so the Americans are sort of clearing the guys out to come out, and they're being very peaceful. And maybe they're out of ammo, but we also see civilians coming out. So we sort of kind of know that the Germans are actively fighting the Soviets, and the Americans are not shooting at the German positions that are firing at the Soviets. The Americans are not, and you could easily, the Americans, I'm sure, could have easily called in airstrikes or artillery firing onto because you can spot some of these artillery batteries firing off, going off onto the positions. But they're letting the Germans fight the Soviets, while the German soldiers and civilians, this is maybe the key here, are actively surrendering to the Western Allies. So they're willing to die in the last moments, days, hours, whatever it is, of World War II to get German civilians maybe out of Soviet occupation, allow other German soldiers to not, maybe, because they don't know, because obviously they don't know if they're just going to turn all of the German prisoners over to the Soviets to handle, but they're hoping not. So they're hoping the Germans, that soldiers that get out, will have a better time in either British or even better time in French captivity than the Soviet captivity. And I think also, to a point, you see the Germans realizing that, because I don't know, that they're trying to shape the peace, and they're trying to, at some point, Germans really stop resisting in the West, not entirely, because there's still the mostly Hitler Youth types that are, and they're called werewolves. You can look in some of the videos. The Germans, both metaphorically, many metaphorically, maybe most metaphorically, and some literally, believe in werewolves and vampires. Werewolves were good. That goes back to, the Teutoburg Forest and the werewolves protecting or helping the Germanic tribes fight the Romans. Sort of myth and legend. And then they, have that sort of mythology, as well as seeing that stuff. And vampires as being evil Easterners, and maybe literal, maybe literal. I'm still trying to figure all this out. Bram Stoker's kind of blood-drinking vampires. But they definitely, some of them believe in genetic vampires. And we can maybe spell something out. Jew, and that they thought of them as sort of genetic mixing vampire type weakening. So they see in their mythology, werewolves is good, vampires is evil. And so you get a lot of, stay behind Hitler Youth types that are, 14, 16 years old that still, believe in all the doctrine, all the dogma. So yeah, I understand why these kids are, doing last-ditch fighting as the Americans are occupying the West. And those go on for like a year or more after the war is over, that there's still these little outbursts of guerrilla activity that's not talked about a lot. But that did go on. I understand that. But mostly after, it collapses, the Germans realize this. And so they're fighting the Soviets to allow most of Germany to be occupied by the Western Allies. So I get why they're fighting the Soviets, why they're actively doing offensives and counterattacks in the East. But I still don't entirely get the West. And let's see what Admiral Teague's been saying while I've been ranting. Was the Western Allies' mindset we might be fighting the Reds in a month? Well, okay. Again, you have, and I don't know this, they were fighting the werewolves more than anything else in the final year. Yeah. Oh, yes. They forgot. Yes. Oh, I know. And one of those kids grew up to be a prestigious religious leader. So it was, oh, yes. Oh, yeah, a good friend of mine was a German who I got to know very well. He, was maybe a bit young for even the werewolves type thing, but grew up in the Hitler Youth. And he got very impressed with his Scottish occupiers, so he was really fascinated by Scottish culture and involved in a Scottish cultural group that I was involved in, although being entirely German. But he loved things Scottish. So yes, I've talked to, Hitler Youth grew up people. I mean, he completely obviously flips, into liberty in America and Nazis be bad and all that stuff. But so yeah, but that's just small intermediate. Now we'll just call him. Yes, Benedict. Yes, I know who you're talking about now specifically. Um, that you know, I don't know that the American captain, major, or some random general. I'm not talking the Pattons, the Bradleys, um, or Eisenhower types, but just your random American, because divisions basically have two generals. One general is in charge, and the other's the executive officer of the division. I'm just talking your average sort of random general. They've been pumped full of propaganda about the Soviet Union. Now, however much of that they're believing, but that they're in the good fight against the evil bad guys of the war, and I don't know how much they think that they're going to be fighting the Reds in a month. So, I guess to the point is, if there was a Free French unit or if there was a British unit that was fighting somewhere, they would have definitely, I think, been supporting them. And whether it was a command from on high, and I honestly, I don't know the answer to this, and it's probably in some book somewhere, but that whether it was somebody like Patton or Montgomery, or obviously, because Montgomery is continuing to, at least I don't know if always, but still commands various American units as they're pushing into Germany. And this is specifically some American units that I've seen, or somebody like Bradley, is telling the troops not to engage targets on the far side of the river unless you're being shot at. Because I know, of course, the Americans, because this was still before the, Donitz had, surrendered Germany officially, at least to the Western Allies. Whether they were under orders not to shoot across, river unless target, because obviously they would return fire. The Americans we're in no mood to take casualties to just obey some silly, like, don't shoot across the river, with artillery or something if they're being targeted. So, yeah, I don't know. I just, it could be just the simple answers as why are they fighting? Because they were told to. why did the middle management believe it? Because, hey, Wunderwaffe were real. Just give us enough time and we'll turn this around. That could be the answer, but, hey, you know, and I do very much acknowledge that I'm looking back at World War II and not there then. And that is definitely affects my viewpoint of all of this. But yeah, so I still wonder why this was fought. Okay, so we have... Okay, before we end this out, we're going to make sure that we are in good position to deal with whatever the end of the turn is going to be. Oh, and I'm going to save this here too, just to save this. Turn 16. LP for let's play. Resume game. Okay, I think this is going to be it. Yes, all right. Sir, these are surely more than limited counter strikes. The overall picture is still somewhat unclear, but we are getting reports about similar attacks from here down to Luxembourg. Historical info. The U.S. forces near Monschau and Eisenborn found themselves right on the northern end of the German onslaught on December 16th, but they mostly kept the enemy at bay. Well, we did that entirely. The struggles along Eisenborn Ridge continued for days after the initial assaults until fighting petered out without any decisive breakthroughs. Early German advances had more success a few miles south, finally allowing Kampfgruppe Piper, very interesting story with Kampfgruppe Piper, acting as an armored spearhead to flood westwards. Okay. Hey Wayne, how you doing? Good to have you here. Okay, we're going to keep the live stream going, but this will be the end of this episode, so you come back next episode and we will be starting the next mission here. Thanks everyone. See you next time for more historical wargaming.